This essay, because Mandy told me I had to give it a name, is called Joseph Merlin Tried His Best. I've spent a lot of time throughout the past 2 years examining my knees. Both are permanently marked with small, misshapen scars. The one on the left is the newest addition, bumpy and still slightly pink. It's from a nasty fall I took at the skating rink in April. Okay. I was working on my jumps and was doing great, until I wasn't. I landed so hard it took me a minute to stagger off the floor, blood already starting to seep through my leggings. Eventually, the pain subsided, like it always does, and I went back out. The party wasn't over, and the DJ still needed to play time after time. If I look above my left knee to my thigh, I see a few light marks that are only visible to me. I skated down a hill at Fairwood Park, not taking into account the muddy patch of gravel at the bottom, until I slid into it like a baseball player coming into home. The small rocks tore tiny holes in my pants, leaving cuts on my skin. If I travel further down my left leg to my shin, there's a light brown divot, no bigger than a dried lentil. It's a scar left over from one of the 36 mosquito bites I got during a trail skate at McNamara Park last July. The bites were so bad I had to call off work the next day. But what I really remember is the 10-mile skate through the lush, shaded park with friends. Halfway through, we rolled into UDF for ice cream and ate it outside as the sun waned. The scar on my right knee is harder to identify. Maybe it's from a meetup at Indian Springs Elementary, or a trail skate in Hilliard, or adult night at Skate Zone. Maybe it's from the first time I put on my skates and shakily tried to roll around the parking lot behind my apartment. It didn't take me long to fall on my knee and fling my skates off in frustration, the embarrassment doubling up as I tried to ignore the pain in my leg. If I travel down to my right ankle, I see the mother of all scars. The 3-inch mark is still darker than my skin, even after months of religiously applying vitamin E oil. Each little brown square forms a line, permanently noting where the doctor cut into my ankle and fixed my broken bone with 8 screws in the metal plate. When I broke my ankle in 2020, 3 months into my skating journey, several people were shocked, my dad included, when I made it clear I had no plans of giving up skating. I understood their surprise. After all, I've quit things for far less than a broken bone. But for whatever reason, I couldn't quit this time. I didn't want to. I've never been a particularly athletic person. I played the requisite soccer as a kid, but my mom likes to remind me how in my many years of playing, I never once scored a goal. I've toyed with yoga, CrossFit, and running throughout the years, hoping one would stick. None did. Incidentally, none left scars on my body either. Wait a minute, I didn't clip it too much, okay. Oftentimes when it came to physical activity, my body never felt like the right fit. I was too tall and too fat and too clumsy and too nervous. My feet were too flat and I was pathetically inflexible. But with roller skating, I found people of all sizes, abilities, and skill levels. I also found people of all ages, genders, sexualities, and races. In short, I found my group, a motley crew of people in a place that felt like home. I often say you will not find a more supportive community than roller skaters. Maybe it's because we understand that there's power in numbers. Most quad skaters are women or non-binary or trans, and we're used to fighting for space, both at skate parks and in other areas of our lives. Maybe it's because we understand that this thing we're doing is really fun, but also really hard. Skating is 99% mental and 1% physical. It is terrifying standing at the top of a quarter pipe for the first time and imagining all the ways this can go terribly wrong. I've spent a lot of time standing at the top of quarter pipes, gripped by anxiety. On the other side of fear is opportunity, my friend Mandy likes to say. Sometimes fear wins and I abandon my perch. But for those times when I summon the courage to push my anxiety to the side and step my right foot onto the quarter pipe, there's nothing quite like it. You can do hard things, I tell myself. And most of the time I believe it. Roller skating will humble you in an instant. As more experienced skaters reminded me during my early days of learning, humans weren't meant to walk with wheels on their feet. In the 1760s, the Belgian inventor Joseph Merlin created a pair of inline skates. While demonstrating his invention at a party, he, and this is a quote, impelled himself against a mirror of more than 500 pounds value, dashed it to atoms, broke his instrument to pieces, and wounded himself most severely. I cannot think of a better metaphor for skating. I'm not sure what the rest of Merlin's skating journey looked like. Maybe it ended that night. It would be understandable. But I like to imagine him in his workshop, making a new pair of skates. I like to think of him practicing in a large empty room, near a mirror in sight. Slowly, he would figure out the mechanics. He'd learn how to slow down and stop. He'd remind himself to bend his knees and, for the love of God, stop looking at his feet. Then maybe, just maybe, he'd take the skates to another party. Maybe he'd roll around the dance floor again, playing his violin. Maybe he'd fall again, but this time he'd get back up. And after a short break, he'd go back out to the ballroom floor. After all, the party wasn't over, and the orchestra still needed to play time after time.